Well, I love entrepreneurs and I love interesting people. So we have some really good ones today. Our first guest is from Federal Grill, which is clearly a favorite of mine because we talk about those cheeseburger egg rolls all the time.
Fried oysters are distinctive, as so many things are there.
So the guy responsible for the amazing food at Federal Grill, I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we're going to talk a little bit about his background. But Eric Aldis is our Culinary Director at the Federal Grill. So he goes from location to location. He's responsible for the menu. Eric, how are you today?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
And my compliments. You're doing a tremendous job because I go to at least three of the grills, mostly Hedwig Village, though.
Awesome. Thank you for your support.
Same here. Okay, Eric, hardest question first. Do you have a favorite item on the menu?
I think I am following the crowd on this one. The cheeseburger egg rolls are a home run. And we're kind of famous, and we use a local Wagyu beef, RC Ranch. They're second to none. It's a fun, good little appetizer to get your night started when you come into Federal Grill.
They are so good. And by the way, you can get them to go because I might have done that last night.
It works.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. No names. I'm asking for a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So, Eric, tell me a little bit about how you got started in the restaurant industry.
Okay. Well, 7th generation Texan. I'm very proud of that. Family's from the Gonzales, Texas area, birthplace of Texas. Went to high school in Katy and played sports and just loved everything about sports, communication, teamwork, the adrenaline rush, all those things. And was able to kind of mirror that into the restaurant industry. I was going through school and going through college, kind of working my way through, and then decided that, culinary was really what I wanted to be. So came to Houston, went to the Art Institute of Houston. Lots of chefs here in town did the same thing. Worked for a lot of restaurants for free just to learn, and then got my foot in the door at the Four Seasons downtown, and that was the start. I kind of went backwards. A lot of chefs will end their careers going through the hotel, country club, and I went right out the gate, 5-star, 5-diamond, Four Seasons, Ritz, Carlton, the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Always traveling with these nice hotels and cooking amazing food and training culture. It was a big part of all these hotel companies and casinos. But I couldn't wait to get back to Texas. Finally made my way back and got my foot in the door with Mark Cox at Mark's American Cuisine, and that was kind of, that was the same thing as working for the Bellagio or the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons in this area, in this part of town. So Mark and I became really good friends. So that was the start of my career, and then, of course, being an entrepreneur, living in Oil Town, figured out how to provide a service for oil and gas industry, providing catering and housekeeping services for offshore rigs, vessels. Then, when the Eagle Ford Shale started going off, I started doing man camps with providing the housekeeping and catering services, had food trucks going to frac sites, whatnot. A lot of fun. Got to experience that part of being in Texas, but that too, got to experience a boom and a bust, especially from a chef's point. Got back into the restaurant business and just started working hard, doing some consulting. Owned a couple little bars in Galveston, Texas, downtown, 2 little wine bars. Sold those right before COVID hit, the end of 2019. And when that whole pandemic started to happen, it was tough on the hospitality industry. Matt Bryce and I go way back. So I was blessed because I just, decided if you're not hunting, you're not eating, during this time. If you're not figuring out what you're going to be doing when you come out of that. And through a lot of prayer and faith, just kind of throwing it up to big guns and saying, let's see what happens. And I was blessed to be able to work on the island in Galveston at a couple different restaurants and marinas. And beginning of this year, I started looking for a big boy job again. I'd always said I wanted to be, next step was culinary director when I get out. I want multiple outlets or big hotels, something of that nature. And I just got out of a big interview. Lots of corporate people all around. Was interviewing for a big job. And I get into my truck and I got a text from Matt. And Matt and I always talked about getting back together because we had worked together about 15 years ago. And he shot me the text and I said, let's do this. Absolutely. I believe in Matt. I believe in the core values and love Federal Grill. Huge fan. So it's all coming together.
That is so awesome. So you I mean, what do you love so much about Federal Grill? You mentioned a little bit culture through your years of learning through various hospitality restaurant, places that you've worked. Why is that so important? Talk to us a little bit about the culture at Federal Grill and how that really kind of defines what you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, cooking is cooking, and restaurants are restaurants, and hospitality is hospitality. You can either be average or you can be obsessed, and we are absolutely obsessed with hospitality. Our goal is that no guest touches a door when they're in our building. We pay attention to the absolute minute details to make sure that the guest experience is really the best out there. And that's really what's separating ourselves, not just from the front of the house, the whiskey and bourbon selections, smoking old fashions, but our cheeseburger egg rolls. It is a cheeseburger egg roll. We use the top quality, local, farm-raised Wagyu, craft Wagyu. Our seafood, we're using the freshest, one of the largest companies in America shipping us the freshest seafood that we can possibly get. And even our produce companies. And then also just culturally, treating everybody with respect and changing the lives of everybody we touch. And that's really what we're about, and that's really what we drive home. And now obsessed hospitality leads to obsessed standards, and that's kind of where I come in, is to making sure that our CEO's standards are in place and having his back and making sure that everything he sees I see, and then also being able to teach that to the chefs, the managers, the general managers, but not just the top management, all the way down to the most important folks, the dishwashers, the SAs, the barbacks, and making sure that they understand and they're upholding those standards as well.
The bus boys, don't forget.
Bus boys. We don't call them bus boys. We call them SAs.
Okay. My twins had their first job this summer at Federal.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah, they did.
I was
They did a great
please
job.
beat them up a little extra, but
I was a busboy once, many
it was
years
amazing.
ago.
Yeah.
It was a fun job. So you had Eric, some buzzwords that just lit me up early on as you were talking. Those are Ritz Carlton, Four Seasons, talking about companies that lead the way or have led the way in exceeding expectations. The story is coming into focus now to see why the Federal American Grill is so successful, because the heritage that you bring forth, even with Matt's experience, his background, you all learned so much and are now deploying those standards and even exceeding them from great companies. I mean, which Ritz Carlton, one of my favorite places. My saying is there's no bad Ritz anywhere, at least there didn't
I would
used
agree.
to be. But which Ritz were you at?
I was actually at the largest Ritz Carlton in the United States. I was at the Ritz in New Orleans.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that-
a great spot.
It was a lot of fun. I had 2 stints, one before Katrina and then one after. And it was tough, but it was an incredible learning experience. Just along the way, like my whole path as a chef and entrepreneur has brought me to learn something new every day. And it's very humbling as a chef when you realize that you can learn something from every single person every single day, no matter where they're from, culturally, different diversities, especially dealing with the big hotels, and now bringing that home and really understanding kind of everybody and where they're coming from. When you're becoming a leader, when you're trying to lead leaders, even, is understanding, take a step back and look at the whole view from 30,000 feet and understand where everybody's coming from, what they're looking at, how their lives are affected by this work. So,
When you mentioned the Ritz in New Orleans, I could tell a few stories, but I want to share just one. On a day I had a later flight out, I said I was staying at the Ritz. I said I'm going to have a nice breakfast before I fly out. I happened to be in that restaurant at the Ritz for breakfast, enjoying a great breakfast. There was the Los Angeles Lakers in the restaurant, Kobe Bryant, Phil Jackson,
Oh, my
Shaquille.
gosh.
So I'm enjoying the buzz of people when there's so many celebrities around. But guess what? I turned to the right. There was Gene Hackman having a cup of coffee.
yes, sir.
And I love that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that happens at these places. But yeah, Gene Hackman. And oh, yeah, the Lakers. It was just a fantastic experience. And
Never a dull moment.
No. Man, you could tell
Yeah,
a ton of stories, I bet.
I
Yes,
was going to
sir.
say, you probably have some that we could talk about and that we couldn't.
I've made some interesting friends. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, I have a question about the menu of Federal Grill. We've talked about what we love, but it's a big menu. it, it keeps expanding.
Mhm.
So talk to me about, I'm so interested to see how a new item gets on the menu. Like, how many times do you taste it? What does that process look like? How many people are involved? How does that
Oh,
how does that
wow.
work?
Well, I've heard story. So Matt's the creator of the cheeseburger egg roll, and he's told me it took him like 38 times to get it down. So the process is, I'll tell you, about 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll start getting pictures from Matt wherever he's traveling. And because of my diverse background in cooking, I really, really can't cook you anything. You can show me and we can tweak it, but usually first time out the gate, it's like, this is awesome. Now, can we recreate it? Can we teach 300 people about it? Can we train 300 people to recreate that? And that's where it starts to get, it's the difference between moving a small jet boat and a huge oil tanker, right? The huge oil tanker has thrusters. It has tugboats. It has a whole army of people really trying to keep it turning in the right direction and from bumping into anything. Jet boat, you just turn it once real quick and it's easy. So we have this huge checklist that was new to me because I was just like, yeah, change it. So we have a huge checklist that we go down. I mean, it deals with marketing, training, the whole gauntlet, not just the recipe, not just the plating guide, not just, the how-tos of everything. There's a lot that goes on, website, to-go platforms, et cetera, et cetera. We get the whole team involved in our food. Then there's training. Then there's constantly putting the dish out over and over again to make sure it's consistent. We're classic American fare. We use high-quality ingredients. And that's really what's separating us apart is that we're not fine dining. We're casual fine dining. We do have white tablecloths. We have linen-wrapped silverware, nice wine, whiskey selection. But we're not meant to be like super fine dining. We're meant to be something for everyone.
Not stuffy.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, yeah, I guess you could make me an amazing dish, but the consistency part is so key, right?
Absolutely. It's got to be the same at 4, about to be 5 restaurants.
Right.
And growing, yeah.
Well, so talk to me a little bit about that. How is Federal's doing great right now? Talk to me about where Federal is headed.
Okay, so we are doing good, and we will constantly evolve and get better, and that menu does keep growing. So we have the Woodlands, Katy, Hedwig Village, our original location at Shepherd and Washington. The training management team from Scottsdale, Arizona has just arrived in Houston today. So we start training the crew. Operating partner's been in training for about 2 months. Steve Parker, he's a great dude. And so we get the other managers started rolling in, and we start training them in our different restaurants. So we have that. Scottsdale is 2 time zones away. So we did something interesting. We took all of our training materials and we went digital. So no more paper. So it's actually, if we need to adjust anything training-wise, it's actually they have iPads throughout the kitchens and restaurants where it's just a button that we push and save, and it goes from there. So we also have, Matt just told me yesterday, Frisco, so in the Dallas area. We have a downtown location on McKinney that's looking very promising. Just getting through the LOI process. So
Here in Houston?
Yes, sir, downtown.
Lots of potential.
Absolutely. Very excited about that. And then, of course, folks are calling from Denver, Colorado, Florida area, Nashville, Tennessee. All of those things are looking like in the works.
It's exciting, knock on wood.
Absolutely.
So coming up here in Houston, what's happening? October, Federal has a big month. Federal does a lot of giving back. Just got done with your Camp Hope menu where you raised thousands and thousands of dollars. What's coming up in October?
October, we have a Think Pink drink. So we're going to be, we had actually all of our bartenders and put in a contest, and they made some incredible pink drinks. So you have to come in and check it out over the month of October. It's delicious. You might be able to drink 3 to 5 of those. They're so good. So hope to see y'all in there. Come say hi.
Awesome.
We're talking with Eric Aldis. He's the Culinary Director at the Federal American Grill. Before we close the segment, Eric, what else do you want people to know? Let's tell them the website, too, in case they're listening from afar, and when they visit Houston, they could just check it out.
Yeah, for sure. It's thefederalgrill.com.
Thefederalgrill.com.
And who knows where the next Federal is going to pop up, right?
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Send us some messages. Tell us where you want us to see you.
And thanks for being with us. We'll see you at the Federal American Grill sometime soon, Eric.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for having me.